Okay, we did have a response from the legal department on the in-person attendance. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pam, but my understanding is that voting members must attend one in-person meeting a year to remain an active voting member.
Correct. What I
It-
had from Autumn. Just an update, Autumn is no longer with us. So, we have a new deputy director for legal counsel, and her name is Amanda DeRoss. DeRoss. But she's taken over Autumn's role.
Okay. That doesn't mean there'll be a different interpretation though, right?
I hope not, no.
Okay,
As far as I know, I think Autumn left all her notes to Amanda. Amanda had worked for us for 6 years, probably about two and a half years ago. So.
okay. And at the in-person meetings, not only does Christy take care of the attendance, there's a sign-in sheet. So we did that last meeting. We have one this time. So anytime anyone attends in person, there's a written record that did occur. I'll let Pam fill you in on the amended childcare regulations.
So, we are in the middle of still redoing I'm sorry, we have a TV in the room, but it's not hooking up for some reason. The owl is working, but it's not showing on the TV in our room, in our room. In the way. The amended rules, we are still working on those. The set that we had written was requested to be rewritten. So we are in the process of rewriting those. In the process of rewriting the rules, we have been also informed that we need to do justifications for every rule that's taken out and every rule that's been replaced, as well as a cost analysis. And those all have to run through legal, then it has to run through OMB, which is Office of Business Management, before it can be approved.
Got a quick question for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
So you have to put a justification for each rule added and each one taken away?
Yeah. So we have to do a justification. So it's going to take us a little bit longer to just do the justification of why we're removing this rule and replacing it with this rule. And so anything that's removed, we have to still do a cost analysis on it, if it's going to affect programs in the benefit, or if it will affect programs on the negative. So I have a meeting tomorrow with my supervisor. So I really am also not involved in the rulemaking this time. It's left to our senior administration from the office. So
Who's that?
so it's going to be Susan McKinney, Christy, and her last name escapes me, Tequila Welsh. I know Adam would be involved in that at some point, and then our legal. But like we said, once we get them written, they are going to be given out to the advisory committee to review.
Wow. Any justification for the ones that are already there?
Do we? No, not the ones we are already there, just the ones that we're removing and replacing.
Wow.
So it will take a little bit longer in the process. It is a priority for the office to work on this because it's a priority for the last legislative session. So we are still working on that. So we still have to make it a priority.
Do you guys have a deadline for that?
I believe I'd have to pull the rules, the laws, to find that out for sure. I can get back with you and send that information to Carol.
Okay, that's okay. I was just wondering if it was like by the end of the year or if you had a year or how long.
There's no way it'll be done by the end of this year. There's just
Yeah.
no way, not unless we spend, 20, 30 hours a week working on them.
Yeah, that's a lot to have to do a justification for everything, so.
And then we have to back it up with data. So if we do some sort of change or add a rule, then we have to back that up. So it does take a little bit of time.
Pam, who asked for that? The justification?
It's part of the process for implementing new laws and new rules. And that's any department with the state have to do that.
Okay, so it's a standard procedure, not something that somebody asked specifically for this
Standard
thing.
procedure, right, standard procedure is just that, I keep forgetting that when I was involved with the rulemaking, that's going back 2018, 6 years ago, that we did it, but we've got new people in office now, so, or in-house, so they're new to this, so.
Well, I can appreciate the intent. It kind of sounds like the quickest way to kill any kind of reform is to ask for that level of detail and justification, just to stall it out. But I'll assume that was never the intent.
I don't think that was the intent. The intent was to try and get the rules written, and they were focusing on health and safety. So really anything that looked like quality or smelled like quality, it was being removed. And then that will be placed into past the quality, PTO 2.0.
Very cool. Well, need any help?
Yeah. Well, it'll be sent out to the advisory group, so, I would keep, an ear to the ground for the ELAC meetings, because there'll be an update at the ELAC meetings and or as much as information I have through these meetings.
Any other questions for Pam about that? Well, let's move on to the Office of Early Childhood and budget cuts.
No.
Uh,
So,
I think highest on everybody's list is the CCDF cuts. And
let's
from
see.
what I heard, correct me again if I'm wrong, Pam, but there will be no CCDF vouchers issued at least the rest of this year. Like if somebody drops off, a new person does not get that spot. They will just be kind of frozen.
And I know that Adam told me to refer everyone back to the budget that he at the last fiscal meeting. But I can also probably tell you, and I think Jennifer Beam's on here, so Jennifer, you can correct me if I'm speaking out of terms. Is that we are still over limit on CCDF. So we still don't think that anyone will be off that waiting list by the end of the year. Is that correct, Jennifer?
Yeah, Pam, that's what I'm hearing so far is that I've not heard any other future statements about the wait list. So the wait list will remain as far as we can see right now. We don't have an end date in mind. But yeah, you are correct. If a child for some reason falls off or a family does not reauthorize, does not turn in paperwork in time, then the case will be terminated and they can reapply, but they will be placed back on the wait list.
There was a gentleman in the office or in the audience at the budget hearing. And he said, let me see if I understand you correctly. He said, so if a woman has a baby or maybe has a 4, 5, 6-month-old baby and she signs up for vouchers, there's no way that child will have a voucher before that child turns 2 years of age.
Oh,
And
wow.
the answer was, yes, that's correct.
Are you stating a fact or is that a question?
No, that's what I heard. I was just asking Pam to tell me if I was off base when I heard that. That was the question he asked, and the response was, yes, that's true. I
Well,
don't
at
know
this
about the rest of you, but we've closed our infant room because all of our infants have aged up, but even people that have children on vouchers, if they have a new baby, that new baby does not go on the voucher program for that family on the waiting list. They go on the waiting list, but not on a voucher.
Correct, that's what I've heard too, I think, Jennifer.
Yeah, that's correct. If a new baby can always be added to the household, but that baby will be added to the waiting list. That is correct. But there have been no kind of determination as to when that new infant or that new child added to that case will be receiving vouchers, because we just don't know about the waiting list yet. So we can't make a determination what age the child will be if and when they receive vouchers.
Yeah. I know it's a moot point because I'm sure I know the answer, but the moratorium on the agreements, the contract centers, that's kind of off the table now, isn't it?
That's a done deal.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I just had to,
No, just to speak on that though is, the resource and referral, some of those programs will still stay open. And they may be still doing work as a resource and referral agency, but they just not be contracted with us, so they will not be funded by us. So like Child Care Answers it will be staying open. So they may be getting funds from like Eli Lilly or private grants or things like that, so, but.
I was gonna ask about that, but I meant the CCDF agreements.
Oh,
There used to be
CCDF.
agreement centers.
Oh, I don't know, Jennifer, agreement centers?
What agreement centers specifically are you referring to? Any special entities?
Me, but like my centers had a CCDF agreement. They used to call them contracts. Since it was built 50 years ago, it was SSBG and all that. But there were a certain number of slots that were agreed upon at that center. Mine's United Daycare Center. I think we had 32 slots. We would do a referral and the voucher agent would process it, but that child had to go to my center. But last October, they did not renew the agreements. And they said there was a moratorium for a year. And I think at that time there were 16 throughout the state, mostly located in low-income neighborhoods. You had to be nationally accredited to apply or keep your contract. So the moratorium would be up this October, but since we haven't heard anything, I'm assuming that's not part of the CCDF system now.
As far as I know, I haven't heard any updates on that, but that's a really good question to bring up. That's certainly something that I can look into and talk to our administration about and get an answer back to this group. Absolutely.
That would be great, thank you, because we're kind of in limbo. We were kind of thinking with all the other changes, that's just something that was going by the wayside, but not that I will probably like your answer, but it would be nice to have a definitive answer.
I
So I
completely
appreciate
understand.
that.
I want definitive answers too. But yeah, I'll see what I can find out and then definitely let you guys know.
Okay, well, we're talking about CCDF vouchers and the fact that they're really on hold right now. Is there any discussion about reimbursement rates? Will they just remain the same?
I do know that reimbursement rates are currently being discussed right now. I'm not sure if they have been completely finalized, but I do know that word will be passing down the way very soon.
Okay,
So stay tuned for that.
So I'm sorry, you said they're being discussed. What does that mean?
Reimbursement rates they're being finalized. So the reimbursement rates for the different types of centers are being finalized, and those will be released out to everyone as soon as we are able to.
Okay, was there any talk of, I mean, in some years they just haven't changed or they've gone up. Are they talking about reducing them at all?
Well, I do know during our COVID years, we were really blessed to have a lot of extra money, and rates went up as much as 30%, during COVID, post-COVID. So I myself actually have not seen the reimbursement rates. So I am unfamiliar if any rates will be changing, increasing, decreasing right now. But I have been told that those rates will be out soon. So that's about all the information I have right now.
do you know any information about like categories? Will it still be countywide, region-wide? Are they changing how they do that?
I don't have any further information on that, but I still believe it's we're going to be looking at past the quality levels and type of auspice.
I just had a
Other
quick
things-
question about the rates. I know like there was like a push out for any of those vouchers that were going to be expiring this summer to be pushed out until November. Is the hope that they'll have those new rates done by November?
Yeah, exactly, Stephanie.
Okay.
That's exactly the hope there. So hopefully, if not by November, then definitely sooner. But yeah, you're on the right track.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other
Um,
questions about vouchers? Mike?
Maybe I may have this may be a voucher question. Um, the is there any information? Could you explain to me? I know how schools that are licensed through OA CASEL, their funding is either through On My Way Pre-K or the CCDF vouchers. We're getting mixed messages, or the parents I interact with are getting confused with the school system, the public school system pre-K programs. How are those getting funded? Are they the same voucher and On My Way Pre-K dollars, or is it a separate funding stream?
I think Sean's on here. Sean, are you able to answer that?
Sure, Pam, I can answer that. Mike, what we're doing now is due to the new legislation, Senate Enrolled Build Act 2, any public school system that is recognized by IDOE, they're allowed to bypass the paths of quality process and come on just as long as they complete the LEP, that legally licensed and exempt process, we can sign them on at a level of 4, what we used to call a level 4 reimbursement rate. But now all of our vouchers are going to be paid at the same rate, that $147.82. So right now, public schools are able to bypass that path of quality and be licensed as a public school, operating as a legally licensed and exempt program. And how they're being funded is that as long as they come on and ask to be a part of our program, those families, the reimbursement rate is the $147.82 a week for those vouchers.
Okay, but do they still have to go through the same waiting list that we're discussing here, or if you know what I'm saying? Because we've got families who want to enroll but who have to wait for a voucher. Do the school systems have that? Because I'm still seeing signs saying free preschool, come sign up. And I'm like,
Now, individual public school systems may be offering their own separate pre-K program where they receive other funding outside of the federal funds that we're able to, or this year's state funds that we're paying our vouchers for. So they totally can have a separate preschool funding source on site. They can have 2 funding sources, right? They can have our program, then they may have a separate program that funds those families as well. So they certainly can have 2 funds of streaming that are coming through for a program.
okay, there was some conversation in one of the proposals from the Senate to provide a separate funding stream just for a public school pre-K program, and I don't think it passed. But to be honest with you, I couldn't keep track of all the bills and didn't know if it stuck in
Right.
someplace.
Right. Unfortunately, I'm not sure about the stats, but I don't think it passed either, because right now where we're sitting at is that the 147.82 for our enrollment here this year. And there are no more allocated dollars for that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other CCDF questions? Are there other areas of the budget anyone has questions or want to talk about? I know INAYC, other than the TEACH program, cut half their staff because of their contracts being cut. But I don't have a lot of details about other cuts in the budget.
I can give an update, Carol, for as far as for the Indiana AOIC contractors that were working on behalf of All My Way program. Those would include all of your what I call on the ground project managers that were inside and working directly with your community partners and your public schools. Their contract does end here 9/30 next month. Some of them have already went on to do other great things, so they're not in your communities anymore. But that part, they will no longer be working with us, and so we're diligently working on how providers will be serviced in the future to replace those services that will be going away 9/30 from our project managers.
Okay, were there other cuts to INAYC?
That I wouldn't have any information on.
Okay.
I can answer that question.
Uh-huh.
This
Okay.
is Allison White. So we have also chosen not to renew some other pieces of the Indiana AYC work. So the workforce coordinator piece of their contract, those pieces we're shifting that work in addition to the On My Way pre-K managers.
Thank you.
I don't know if this is a CCDF question, but the Indiana After School, they were promoting a grant that they have out that went from 2,500 to 7,500 to get staff, I guess, qualified to work in CCDF facilities. I spoke with the Indiana After School program. They said they collaborate with the state only to help providers open a childcare versus sustain the childcares that we have already. So basically the grant is for them to help providers open new centers, and they're collaborating with the state for that.
Are they opening new centers or are they becoming legally licensed exempt providers?
That was the only response that I received.
Okay. Allison, do you know anything about that?
I sure do. My team oversees that work. So we are doing subgrants through the Indiana After School Network to increase the supply of after school CCDF eligible after school programs. So that's kind of the goal, right? Is they might be working with a program that is currently providing before and after school care, but they are not regulated because they meet an exemption. And so and for some reason they can't take CCDF. They don't have the funds to get their staff background checks, for example, right? So they could apply for this grant. They could get the background checks. That's a bad example because most people have background checks. You know what I mean? And they could then be able to take CCDF funding through this grant.
But my explanation was that you have to open a new center. Is that not accurate?
Not necessarily. Like it could be a program that is just not currently accepting CCDF, and they would be able to use this funding to meet the criteria to take CCDF.
But we're still on a waiting list, right? Is that the catch?
There is still a CCDF waitlist, yes.
I did have another CCDF question that was sent to me. Will providers receive the enrollment reimbursement in September since it wasn't received in March and April?
Enrollment.
Yeah, so like
Reinstatement.
are you referring to specifically the enrollment fees? I believe that some locations charge.
I don't know unless the person on the call is the one that sent the question.
Okay, well, I'm assuming that's what's being referred to. Those have been those have been reimbursed yearly, and I know that typically they are reimbursed in the springtime, right? So that's what everybody was waiting on. Is that correct?
Yes.
I would
Okay.
assume so, yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. So yeah, so I know with the cuts in funding and the budget, I know that area has been looked at, but I do not have a further answer on that. I have been told that that is currently being looked at as well, and we should have an answer sometime this fall.
Okay,
Allison put a couple things in the chat. And she put the, after school, Indiana After School Network, their CCDF development sub-grant. And then, she also put, I think that was it, right? Yeah, this is the CCDF sub-grant information, so she put that in the chat.
other questions about budget cuts, CCDF? Our next meeting is in November and it falls during the NACCE National Conference. Is that a conflict for very many, I can't even talk today, very many of our voting members? Does that pose an issue for anyone? Then we will leave our November date the way it is.
Okay.
Update from the Office of Early Childhood. Pam, you or someone on our call?
See if we got no technical difficulties. Let's try this. Maybe. Okay, so we just put down, let's see how it shows up. Isn't that weird?
Yeah,
I don't
it
know
looks
what
like one of those
happened.
pictures you get in the machine.
Yeah, the little strip ones, yeah. So we have got, currently, we have got 798 licensed centers. So capacity's at 87,400. We still have 53 proposed centers. We've closed 8. Sorry.
You closed or they closed?
They closed, not we closed. Sorry, we didn't close. The one emergency closure was from last time, so ignore that. We've got 13 new opened centers. They either open for new, they got to change an owner. So it'll be one of those two when we say open. So it'll either be a change of owner, which we've had quite a few change of owners lately. New would be like brand new. So they've gone through orientation training. They may have worked with an early childhood specialist. But we have had a couple that was closed, and we've also lost centers, which I think will be reflected more in the next data that we have coming out, like November, because we've lost centers to become exempt centers in schools. So we've lost a few of those. Again, we're still working up on the rules. Again, talk to your legislator about any concerns that you have. We're still looking at it for caring with our children. And if, like, again, if it's not health, safety and sanitation, they're trying to look at maybe removing those from the rules. Once we get more feedback, we'll let you know. We're still working with trying to figure out the kitchen. Because we were looking at maybe working with Department of Health to do those inspections for centers for kitchens. But we have not heard back. We haven't heard any new updates. So we don't know where we're at right now. So the center consultants are still doing those kitchen inspections. We have some things on our TB tests. I know that, I don't know if a lot of you are aware that TB tests are going to be no longer required in rule. So you can actually request a waiver now that will subject your centers to not have to do TB tests now. So because that haven't been promulgated yet, which may be a little bit longer, you can apply for a waiver. And those are automatically granted, which will allow your programs to do normal TB tests. So if you still don't have TB tests, new staff coming on, you don't have to get them, but you would still have to make sure that they're. Kareem, are you on here? Elizabeth? I'm drawing a blank right now. I think I just got too much on my brain. So if they are in a center and a staff has TB test, that has to be not expired, right?
Are you talking about
Or-
currently? Yes, they would
Yes,
have to be not
currently.
expired. If they
Right.
are expired, that is when the waiver, they would need to apply for the waiver so that they could have that on file, correct?
Okay, thanks. Does that make sense?
And that waiver is not per person, it's per facility.
Right.
Okay, so,
New staff coming on, they don't need it. You need a waiver to be able to have those new staff not get a TB test, because you have 30 days to get a TB test. So you need to,
so new staff can get a waiver.
yes, but it's, we don't do it per person, it would be for the program. So you need a program waiver submitted request to exempt you from getting any more staff TB test done.
Where do you get the waiver from?
Contact your licensing consultant. Yeah, they have them.
But what about the people that currently have them? Do you
As
have?
long as they're current, they're fine. If they expire, you definitely need a waiver.
Okay,
Because otherwise they'd have to get it to show proof that they have a current TB test. Because that is still the rule right now, that they still need a current TB test.
okay,
So to be exempt from doing TB tests, you need that waiver for the center.
okay.
Okay, so also moving forward, we are no longer doing food and health programs. So that 16-page document or that really long page document that you had to submit when you were opening new centers, we are now doing waivers. So along with the waiver, you'll be given a checklist of all the forms that you still need to have and review and be in compliance with for the current rules and regulations that are throughout the rules itself. But if you're doing a change of owner, so those people that have 6 months to get it in, they'll do a waiver and they won't have to submit anything. For the food program, as you are still required to submit all your menus to be approved, to make sure that they are no choking hazards, that it meets the age and age requirements, the amount of milk requirements, all those kinds of things are still being reviewed. So as part of that waiver requirement, you'll still need to submit menus. Now, if it is a program, just say Carroll Center never had infants before and she wants to put on infants, a waiver is still going to be required to be submitted. And instead of submitting the whole gamut plus the checklist and everything else, you'll submit the waiver plus menus for your infant and toddler rooms that you're adding on. Okay, so we're changing that process. Any questions on that before we move forward? Because that was a lot.
Pam, the
Yeah.
slide said waivers are not available for new locations, or should it say now available?
That should be now available. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are requiring them to be done through, so the new programs have to do orientation to get the waivers. When the consultants don't have them just to hand out, because they'll go for change of owners, orientation, or if it's for a program that is adding age groups, then we will send them out, but they are not available on our website. They are just have to be given out by the licensing consultant. But they are available for new locations. Thanks, Mike. I'll change that. This is just some information we had about the contracts for our resource and referrals. You know, we are working on program or processes to do some of that support work. And once we have more information, that will be available on our website as well. So if you have any questions on the resource and referral, just go through to our website, which is OCASL provider inquiry at fssa.in.gov. And we will make sure that someone answers your questions on concerns, or if you have any specific questions, you can get your questions answered through there. I still want to do a plug for Monday Must Knows. That is where you're going to get your most up-to-date information. So any information on resource and referrals, any information on processes for the office, that's where most of them will be put out. So if you haven't already signed up for Monday Must Knows. Adam requested that we put in the link for the financial reporting that was done on the meeting on 8/6. It's under documents and reports under FSSA. So you guys can go there and pick up the latest recording and see all the PowerPoint presentation that was there. And then I just put this in as just a few different ways to contact our office if you have any questions or concerns. Definitely, you can always reach out to myself or Tequila Welsh, which is my supervisor. She's the director of licensing. So you can contact us, the 877 number. We still have a fax in the office. And then we have the provider inquiry email that goes directly to our office as well. I know we've had updates from CCDF on my way and quality. Is there anybody else have questions? Okay.
Any other questions or concerns to come before the group? I won't do the roll call because Pam's going to tell me everyone that was online, and we have a sign in for the people in person.
Courtney, can you mute? Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns, or comments? If not, we stand adjourned.
Thanks, guys. Everyone have a great time. Be safe.
Carol, can you take a picture of the attendance sheet in person there and send to me?
I sure will.
Thank you.